Welcome back to Long Delays Hobbies. Today I'm going to be showing you how I painted up Gandalf the Grey. Recently there was an MTO for this variant of Gandalf. This is the Rivendell version. He finally came in the mail last week, and so I was very excited to paint him up as quickly as I could. Like a lot of people, Gandalf is one of my favorite characters from both the books and the movies, so I really wanted to do him justice. So I'm going to start off with a base coat of Eshin Gray for Gandalf's famously gray cloak. Eshin Gray is normally used as a layer paint, so I needed to apply about 3 coats of this on my black primer in order to get that color just right. And now we need to paint Gandalf's famous pointy hat. And to do that, we're going to use the Fang as our base color. We're also going to use the Fang to paint Gandalf's sword belt. If you look carefully, he has 2 different sets of straps around him. One is the sword belt, and one is just a set of leather straps, or a regular belt, I suppose you might call it. And we now need to paint Gandalf's wooden staff. And to do that, I used a base coat of Mornfang Brown Air. I had to go and approach this model from quite a different number of angles just to make sure I covered it thoroughly. And to paint up Gandalf's light gray beard, I started with a base coat of Gray Seer and just went all around the miniature, painting up that big bushy beard. Gandalf's skin is quite light colored, so in order to base coat that, I used Cadian Flesh Tone. And to paint those straps around his waist, I used Rhinox hide. I also used Rhinox hide to paint the boot that's just poking out of the bottom of his cloak. One thing we can't forget is to base coat Glamdring, the foe hammer. And to do this, I used Vallejo monocolor gunmetal. You could also use lead belcher for this. And to paint the hilt of Glamdring, I used Abaddon black. And now our Gandalf is fully base coated, so we're going to begin with washing him with Nuln Oil. We're going to start by washing his cloak with Nuln Oil. We're just going to selectively apply Nuln Oil into the recesses of the miniature. We're going to do what's called a recess wash, so that's where we just go into the cracks and crevices of the miniature, rather than just slathering Nuln Oil all over the miniature. We're also going to wash Gandalf's white beard with some Nuln Oil to darken the color just a bit and get some shade into the recesses of that beard and make it look a little bit more gray rather than white. So next up, we've got to shade the brown bit to the miniature. That's going to be Gandalf's wooden staff and the Rhinox hide belt. Then I used Reikland Flesh Shade to wash his skin tone. Followed by Drakenhof Nightshade to wash his pointy hat. So we're now going to move on to highlighting our Gandalf. We're going to start with his gray cloak again, and I used Dawnstone to highlight the many folds of his cloak. I went through and found the different areas where I thought the light would catch, including the various folds of his cloak as well as the top of his arm and the different sides of the cloak. And to highlight the pointy hat, I used rust gray, just going around the edge of the hat and just picking out a few points of interest along the side and edges of the top part of the hat. I also used rust gray to highlight the sword belt, which I had previously base coated using the Fang. And now I wanted to make Gandalf's beard stand out just a little bit more, so in order to do that, I went in and picked out a few strands with some Ulthuan gray air. I did not pick out every single strand, just a few here and there to brighten up the beard just a little bit. And I wanted to create some striations in Gandalf's staff and brighten it up just a bit. So in order to do that, I used some Baneblade Brown Air and just carefully drew some little lines along the side of the staff and highlighted the top. And in order to create some points of interest on his leather belts and straps that were going along the top and sides of Gandalf, I used some Doombull Brown Air, which is a reddish leather color. And to highlight up his skin just a bit more and make it a little bit more lighter, I used Kislev Flesh, just picking out the knuckles, nose, a few points on his skin where the light would catch. And to highlight Glamdring, I used Army Painter Plate Mail Metal. You could also use Ironbreaker, which would be the Citadel equivalent. And finally, he still has that shoe sticking out. Don't forget to paint that. It's an easy detail to miss. To highlight that, I used Gorthor Brown. And with a little bit of grassland basing work, our Rivendell Gandalf is completed. He is ready to go have a chat with Elrond. If you have any questions about how I painted him, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching how I painted this Gandalf the Grey. It really was a pleasure to paint up this classic metal miniature. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to have a great day. Take care.